Hi, this is Skoggit, and it's time for Storytime with Skoggit. Today's story is called Fake Cop or Not. And before I get into the story, like I do it with every story time, I crack myself open an ice cold Lone Star, and we pour it in a glass, and then we get on with the story. That's what I'm going to go ahead and do. This story happened in about I'd say 1986, right around that time. And at the time I was working for a department, and I was a peace officer. And one night, one evening or night, it was night. I got stopped by a vehicle, and back in the 80s, the vehicle, like the unmarked cars, they had a light similar to this one. This one's like a fireball light, and this is an amber color. They come in amber, red, and blue. I have the covers to these somewhere, and I managed to find this one. It's in amber, but I do have the blue and the red to this. And what this does is they put it on their dash, like you can put it on your dash, and it plugs in the cigarette lighter. And that's the way they did it back then. Of course, they don't use these no more. These are, I don't even know if you can buy them. This one also is referred to as a Kojak light because it's got a magnet on it, and you can put it on the top of your hood of your car, and it's not going to slide off. And back, if you're familiar with the Kojak series or some of the early 70s to 80s, you'll see these lights quite often. But like I say, they don't use these no more. I don't even think they make them no more. Now they went to the visors and the grill lights and such like that. But back in '86, they still had these. But anyway, on with the story. I was driving down the street, and it was a busy street, and it was night, and I was driving, and I see this red light revolving. So I look in my mirror, and I pull over to the side, and it pulls in behind me, and it's an unmarked car. I know it's unmarked because this is on the dash. I can see it revolving. And whenever I stop my car, I get out of the car and walk towards the officer, and he's getting out of his car. He walks towards me, and we're standing there in the side of the street, and I'm got real close to him, and I look at his badge. He's wearing a suit, he's wearing a tie, and he has in his coat pocket, he has a badge holder with a badge. So I'm like looking at the badge, and it's in like a 7-point star. And I know for a fact in the region where I live, I don't know of any officer at that time having a 7-point star, and that kind of gave me a red light there. And I asked him, I said, officer, I said, what seems to be the problem? He said, well, what the problem is, he never asked me for any ID. He never asked me for any insurance. He never asked me for nothing. He said, what the problem is, he says, you were speeding. I clocked, he said, you were speeding, you was doing 45 in a 40. I said, okay. So I was speeding. He said, that's why I stopped you. He said, I just wanted to stop you and let you know of that. And I said, okay. And I said, the only reason? And he said, that's the only reason. And he was like, I asked him, I said, what agency are you with? Can you tell me what agency you're with? He said, I don't have to tell you nothing. He said, what I'm telling you, and then he started pointing his finger at me. And then he said, what I'm telling you is that you were speeding. You was doing 45 in a 40-mile-per-hour speed limit. I said, okay. I said, what I need for you to do is write me a ticket then. And he said, well, he says, I'm not going to write you a ticket. He says, I'm just going to let you off with a verbal warning. I said, no, I don't want you to. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I was breaking the law. And I said, I want you to write me a ticket. I said, you're an officer of law. If I request you to write me a ticket, you have to, by law, write me that ticket. And then he says, well, I'm going to let you off on just a verbal. So I told him, I said, well, let me tell you something. I said, I've already seen your badge. And I said, I know that you're not with any police agency. And I reached in my back pocket, pulled out my badge and showed them to him, identified myself as a peace officer in the department what I work for, and I said, I need for you to put your hands on the car, and I mean like right now. And he just kind of looked at me, and I said, I told him, I said, put your hands on the car. So he turned around, he puts his hands on the car, and I'm in the process of conducting the pat search for weapons and contraband. And at that time, a city police officer pulls up behind us, puts his lights on, and gets out. And he comes over to where we're at. He said, what seems to be the problem here? Because he noticed that both vehicles were not like law enforcement vehicles. And I show the officer, I tell him the department I work for, and show him my ID. And I told him that this man right here stopped me and for speeding and does not want to write me a ticket. And he looks at him, the city cop looked at me, looked at him, and told him, he says, if he was speeding, then write the man a ticket. And he said, I can't do that. The police officer says, why not? He said, because I don't have a ticket book. He said, the police officer then says, then why are you stopping people if you don't have a ticket book? He said, what agency are you with? The man wouldn't answer. He just looked down, and I told him, I said, he's impersonating an officer. We took his ID, ran a check on him, and come find out about it, he had even a warrant out for his arrest. So I told the police officer, I told him, I said, you want me to go ahead and I'll follow you down and I'll go ahead and do the paperwork? He said, no, don't worry about that. He said, I got it all taken care of. He says, just go ahead and enjoy your evening. And he said, I'll go ahead and take care of this. And so that's what he did. And just kind of funny is like, you know, the thing about, well, let me explain something to you, maybe you, it'll help everybody out, is if you ever get stopped by a police officer, he's going to ask you for identification and such. He's going to be in if he's in an unmarked car, when he approaches the car, he's still going to ask you. This man never did. The same thing is like on the badge. If he flashes a badge at you, and you take note of that badge, most well, every one of the badges will have like the state seal, more than likely, unless like there's some two exceptions, but it will all have the name of the town where the police officer is employed. And that's like for a safety factor. If it's at night, and say you getting stopped by someone what's running one of these Kojak lights, don't stop. Go to a 7-Eleven. I mean, go to a 7-Eleven, or go to the nearest. Stop at the nearest safe place, whether it be a McDonald's, 7-Eleven, or what have you. If the officer is legit, and you get out and tell him, you were in an unmarked car, didn't know if you was a real police officer or not. I stopped at this place because it's a safe environment, and now you can tell me what I done wrong. And chances are that police officer is not going to arrest you for evading arrest, because that's not going to happen. He's going to take into consideration that he's in an unmarked car, he's running his lights, and therefore you're looking out for your safety. And if he does try to arrest you for evading, then there's something wrong with that officer, because you've done what you're looking out for your safety. Because at night, and now if it's during the day, might be a different story. You can see the vehicle, and even then you can pull into a safe place. I'm just letting you know about this. And that's just giving you a little bit of advice. Not all states are the same, but if an officer is in an unmarked vehicle and you don't recognize the vehicle, then it could be a phony cop. He could try to rob you or whatever. And most officers will be up on that, and they'll like know whether you're trying to invade them. If you just take off like a bat out of hell and drive, then it's like, yeah, I'm being invaded. If the officer is legit. Most of the time, if you pull into a place like that, and it's the phony officer, he's not going to stop because there's too many people around. So I'm just giving you a little bit of advice there. This is Skoggit, and appreciate all you viewers and subscribers out there, and y'all take care.